All right, are we back? Good. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Sorry for the week off. Work's been absolute chaos. Uh, I've been working probably like 14-hour, 15-hour days for the last 9 days. So, yay me. But, anyway, so today we're going to get into some things that we missed over the last week. We're going to get into, I don't know, Rubio has been doing pretty good, at least as far as having a spine goes. And he actually gave a speech in Munich to a bunch of people that hate the current administration and got standing ovation. So, good for him. Always, no matter what side of the line that they're on, if someone do good thing, say, hey, good job, guy. If someone do bad thing, say, hey, stop doing that, fucker. AOC, on the other hand, did quite the opposite, proving that she really should have paid more attention in school than while bartending. Then we also get over to, we're going to check in with the critical drinker, see how Starfleet Academy is doing. I've never been the biggest Star Trekkie guy. I like some of it, some of the lesser known shows in the 90s and early 2000s. And then Canada, once you're dead. So let's go ahead and get into this. Meow.
This weekend, but I think what's most important here, the takeaway is it really shows a stark contrast in visions for the future of the West, or as AOC would refer to it, a failed civilization. So Marco Rubio, he made it pretty clear that we have made some missteps, that we thought a lot of human nature's problems had been solved, and that we need to be really clear in charting our course forward, and that the United States can do it without Europe, but we'd like to do it with them. AOC was unable to answer questions and complained about international classism. Then you also have, of course, the Eurotrash rambling. So first, let's go to Rubio. It's really a speech that's worth watching in its entirety.
Yeah, it is.
But he started by sort of just addressing and criticizing the thinking that has dominated a lot of the Western world, which has led to our societal suicide since the end of the Cold War.
That infamous wall that had cleaved this nation into two came down, and with it an evil empire. And the East and West became one again. But the euphoria of this triumph led us to a dangerous delusion that we had entered, quote, the end of history, that every nation would now be a liberal democracy, that the ties formed by trade and by commerce alone would now replace nationhood, that the rules-based global order, an overused term, would now replace the national interest, and that we would now live in a world without borders where everyone became a citizen of the world. This was a foolish idea.
Yeah.
That ignored both human nature, and it ignored the lessons of over 5,000 years of recorded human history.
Mm-hmm.
And it has cost us dearly.
And you know what? That's so important.
I completely agree, for the most part. Also, I'm so sorry for this, but I cannot stop thinking about how giganimous his ears are. They're huge.
Because you guys comment if you were raised in public schools. How many of you had the "We Are the World" poster with all the kids holding hands and all the flags? I remember as a kid just looking, going, but wait a second, didn't that one flag, like, isn't that a communist country? Wait, didn't that one flag, like, aren't they currently engaged in a genocide? We thought this was really, we were raised in the era of we are all one, we are all humanity. And it sounds nice to a child until you realize that cannot work. And even conservatives, I would say.
Well, and that's one of the big things. Like, when you say things like this, like "We Are the World" and all that, a lot of the people who put this out make it sound like the whole world lives like we do. And that's not the case. And then these days, it makes it feel like the whole rest of the world lives better than we do and has something that we just seem to be missing. I saw this a lot, even in small states like Arkansas and Oklahoma. Like, you see a lot of this crap, and it makes kids feel like America is the worst, most oppressive place in the world, which isn't the case. No matter how bad we get, and we do have our problems, we have a lot of problems, but most of it just kind of lies on our political leaders and, what people like to say, the shadow cabal, pitting us against each other just for political gain. Have you ever noticed that for the most part, most people who run for office never really do anything that they put it out on, and they always blame the other party? A lot of the times, it's true, sure, but you'll see times like, I think Bush had a huge majority in the House and Senate, Obama had a super majority in the House and Senate, and nothing really got done. Nothing good or positive, at least.
Say there was a sort of a real libertarian phase where we thought, well, free trade is going to bring the rest of the world into the... It can't. First off, we know that there is no such thing as free trade when you look at these other nations. And we also realize that some of these nations simply don't want prosperity for their own people. It hasn't worked. And that's where we find ourselves right now. And not a lot of people in positions of power have been willing to address that. That's what we were raised with.
Or admit its failure. I mean, right? So you have the Fukuyama basically kind of championed this. I think it was the early 90s where he wrote his book that kind of famously championed that. But at the same time, Huntington wrote a book that was actually correct called Clash of Civilizations, and basically saying like, hey, no, that's not going to happen. You're ignoring human history, like Marco Rubio said. You're also ignoring just the reality of how we deal with one another, with countries that don't have the same goals and don't have the same aspirations. And for some reason, we don't look back at China and go, yeah, that didn't work at all, because the China strategy was basically like, if we just start doing business with them, they will become a democracy. They will come into the new world and they'll be like us. Well, they came into the new world all right, but they took advantage of us.
Right.
And now they have us in a really bad position. But can you just not look back and go, yeah, that's totally reasonable. We shouldn't have done that. We should not do that going forward.
Well, what about the...
And we definitely shouldn't have. Say what you want about the night. Hey, homie, I can share your stream. That's fantastic, dude. I appreciate the engagement, but I don't want to get ahead doing any of that stuff. But I appreciate your engagement. But no, probably the 90s is when a lot of this started, where we started moving jobs out of the country, especially to places like China. We've literally funded what will probably end up being our own demise in that. I can't remember what it's called, the North Atlantic Consumer Deals, something like that. I can't remember. UNISEC. No, that's... My brain not worky this morning. I apologize, but no, it was signed off by the North Atlantic Trade Deal or whatever. But I'm gonna stop trying to think of it real quick. But no, that was pretty much the fall of our own deal, because not only are we importing people to work lower tier jobs here, but we're also getting rid of a lot of we have gotten rid of most of the manufacturing jobs. I grew up in a small manufacturing town, and you'd see things like Whirlpool and other things move out of said town, and a lot of the jobs went with it, and the city council did nothing to help. They kept, face palming things and slapping like a Toyota factory deal down. But that one guy got a brand new church.
fact that Steven just said in elementary school he was thinking about genocides.
I was.
Nobody.
That's weird.
Nobody's. We're just gonna let this elephant in the room just stay there.
I was.
You were thinking about genocides in elementary
literally, because
school.
we just learned, like, this
Rwanda.
didn't.
I was saying tap my court, no erases on the tetherball court, and you're in there and you're like, oh my God, it's just killing 50,000 a day.
Oh, I didn't care about the genocide. I just didn't want to be friends with the nation that committed genocide.
genociders.
I was like, how can we all be the world if they're bad countries where they kill their own people? That's how I found out I was right wing. My communist drama teacher said we need to give land back to Native Americans. I just come from history class. I said, well, the Algonquins or the Iroquois, those were the main ones in Quebec. She goes, oh, that's so right wing. I said, I guess I'm that. They were scalping the women and children. Also, you want to know how you know that this can't work? When they actually recorded that "We Are the World," they couldn't even get all of the celebrities in one room because many of them
I remember
hated each
that.
other. So they'd have to come in and tell, Springsteen can't be with so and so and so. Like, you think you're gonna get caught?
Yeah, it was pretty funny, and you would see people who you thought were friends or used to be friends, and they would have to be spread out from one side to the other.
Countries to do that, and then Rubio went on to discuss and really kind of. Not just discuss, but this is sort of and actually this came from an Orthodox book that I read, to evangelize, what that means. It doesn't just mean, hey, good news, Jesus is great. It's laying down the terms. Here are your benefits, right? Here's what you get out of this, but these are the expectations. Rubio evangelized to Europe on their ties to America and how we want them to be a part of it, but what that actually looks like and the prerequisites.
In a pursuit of a world without borders, we opened our doors to an unprecedented wave of mass migration that threatens the cohesion of our societies, the continuity of our...
And not even just mass migration. The fact that not only did we... Look, and I love criticizing both Democrats and Republicans on this, because neither one of them gives a flying fuck about any of these people. Neither one of them. The conservatives don't, because they don't do anything to expedite the processes, the processes. And the Democrats definitely don't, because they incentivize people to not become citizens. Because the second they become citizens, one, it costs a lot of money to do so. Not a lot, but over time, it's quite a bit. Two, it takes a lot of time and a lot of study. And why do that when you can just get paid and not learn English, not become a citizen, not become well-versed in all the things that are on the stupid tests that they give you? It is a lot of stupid shit. It's important to know. It's stuff that we all learned growing up, and some of us take for granted, but it really is. Like, as an American, if you took that test, most of us probably wouldn't pass either, by the way. I don't even know if I would anymore, and I'm pretty well-versed in a lot of this. But no, it's Democrats, they incentivize people to not become citizens, and it's freaking awful. And they'll drop whole like waves of people in the middle of nowhere in a small community, and then they'll just leave them there. It's like, I don't know, like imagine you and a group of 5 or 6 friends being dropped at a party with like 16 people already there, and you don't know any of these people, and they all speak a different language. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Either everyone's going to stick to their own side and then occasionally clash with the other people because you don't speak the same language. It's especially when you drop these people in the middle in what they call the flyover states. It's just asking for unpleasantness, we'll say, at the very least.
Culture and the future of our people. We made these mistakes together. Under President Trump, the United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal and restoration, driven by a vision of a future as proud, as sovereign, and as vital as our civilization's past. And while we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. Because the 2 great wars of the last century serve for us as history's constant reminder that ultimately our destiny is and will always be intertwined with yours. Because we know
he's running in 20
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Look, love him or hate him. Look, and you can say that with just about anyone in this administration, but Rubio's fucking fantastic as far as foreign policy goes and getting a lot of this shit done. He's done a phenomenal job. He's come a long way from someone who got, drug all over the floor during the Republican primaries of 2016. Was it 20? Yeah, 2016. He's done a fantastic job. He just has. He does all the things. I hope no matter who wins, whether it be Democrat or Republican, I hope they keep this guy there, because if anyone thinks this guy's not doing a good job, you haven't been paying attention at all. You just watch your whatever news channel you watch, and you let that be your guide. You read a bunch of headlines on Facebook or X. Yo, what's going on, Shapeshifter? Yeah, it's been a long time. But I will not have that big a gap between shows, not unless I'm in dire health needs.
Because we know that the fate of Europe will never be irrelevant to our own.
The reason that I think that was so well done is because he gave the reason and the non-negotiable and sort of the red line. He set it up with, opened up to wave after wave of mass migration, which has been detrimental. He's saying we're not going to do that. We are going to move forward in a way that benefits our people, and we would love for Europe to do that as well. We'd rather do it with you, but we will do it without you if that is your expectation.
Yeah, it was a unifying message, and that's the important thing. Yeah, no, I haven't done a show since the day before. I think it was the day before Valentine's Day, and no, I've been working like 14 or so hour days for the last, well, pretty much ever since then, and it's been awful. But those times are coming to an end. Knock on my wooden desk. But no, Rubio's 100% right in this, and I really do think, I don't know, if he runs, I think it would be good. If you ask me honestly, I think he should stay in the same job for whoever comes to the presidency next, and they should just give him pretty much free reign to do as he's been doing. But he's absolutely right. Like we need to make it clearer. Aw, yeah, that's what my parents said after I moved out both times. But but yeah, no, it's, I don't know. We need to focus on restructuring some of the laws when it comes to the pathway to citizenship, and we need to get a lot of the stuff done that they're doing right now. They've already started. They might as well finish. So the people who are trying to do the right thing can finally do it. I know a couple of people who, again, no, it's fine. It's fine. I didn't even notice that I didn't do a show.
That is a way to lay out terms.
Yeah.
To offer, right, extend an olive branch, but you guys have to do it on our terms because you can't keep telling America what we do for Americans.
Yeah, and he did it at the right time too. Like, public perception of how this is going is not going well in Europe. They did it first. They started opening up the borders first to let mass migration happen. Didn't do anything about it, and you see it just running rampage all over Europe, and the citizens are like, "What the hell are you doing?" And at this point, for him to say that, to pick that one issue to bring up, and then to tie it back to us, I think this was like, hey, listen, we will do this alone, but we don't need to do this alone. We want to do this with you.
Right.
Even though we're telling you that this is hurtful and difficult, we need to do this together.
It's making it really clear. Nationalism doesn't
It's not often that I find Gerald to be based, but this is one of those few times.
mean isolationism. Nationalism means having a really clear team jersey and knowing which other teams are actually your allies. That's what nationalism means. In other words, you can ally yourself with other nations who share your values and your interests. But if you don't have strong nationalism, you can never actually know who your allies are. And that's why he made it very clear that nationalism, which used to be a dirty word, I've been around a long time. I remember in 2016, they said nationalist or nationalism.
Hitler.
It really means white supremacy.
Yeah.
Well, Rubio's not backing away from it. I feel like he shares our...
Well, and see, that's the thing. People always shit on nationalism, but at the same time, the same people, or at least they used to, also shit on globalism. Globalization used to be what a lot of liberals frowned upon. I can even remember going back and listening to old System of a Down songs. Global policy, globalization, coupled with condemnation, a necessary death. We need to focus on ourselves. It's a lot like, you know how like people will try to help other people out of financial situations or emotional, like giving them advice and whatnot, or going out there and offering advice, but they don't really do well themselves. That's what it's like. You have to make sure that you're doing okay before you can make sure everyone else is doing okay. Like if you see someone about to fall off a cliff or something, by all means help that person. But as far as taking them in and showing them the way or whatever, you can't really do that until you yourself are walking the right path.
Exasperation at this point, where he made it clear nationalism is the way forward. There's no door number two.
Well, people often
National security.
Oh, sorry, but I'll go to you right after this clip. But yes.
National security which this conference is largely about, is not merely a series of technical questions. How much we spend on defense or where, how we deploy it, these are important questions. They are. But they are not the fundamental one. The fundamental question we must answer at the outset is, what exactly are we defending? Because armies do not fight for abstractions. Armies fight for a people. Armies fight for a nation. Armies fight for a way of life. And that is what we are defending. A great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history, confident of its future, and aims to always be the master of its own economic and political destiny.
That's why the left can't stand what he said. Yeah. A nation that has every reason to be proud. They'll go, what about slavery? You know who he's talking to there, right? I don't know if you know. I don't know if you're a history buff, but it's not like Europe was immune from the perils of slavery. I don't know how much you guys have brushed up on history a little bit. He's saying we have every right to be proud. We have every right to look out for the interests of.
Well, and not even that. Look, slavery existed. Is this about China? No. Well, kind of. No, this is just this particular segment is just about Rubio and AOC talking in Munich. But no, and look, people always talk about how prostitution is like the oldest profession, I think is how it's phrased. But slaver and slave trader is definitely a close second, if not the actual first. Slavery has existed since the dawn of time, and it's horrible. The only difference and the only reason it's so much more frowned upon in the West is because of the history here. We have actually freed our slaves in the Western world. Some would argue that we've just found different ways to enslave people and spread it out to just poor people as opposed to anyone based on race. But whichever way you look at it, even if you consider us modern day slaves, slave to our wages, slave to politics, and so on and so forth, we still have a freedom of speech and all of the other freedoms, to bear arms. We have all of the amendments to the Constitution that give us, mostly tied into our Bill of Rights, and then a few beyond that. But that's the difference. And even if you view us as a form of modern slavery, there's still actual slavery that is occurring in the world. And a lot of these people who still hold modern day slaves, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, hell, even China, but pretty much most of the Middle Eastern countries, a lot of African countries, and a lot of Southeast Asian countries still have the slave trade. It's nowhere near as strong as it used to be, but a lot of these people are in the UN, and we do nothing about it. People don't get upset. Prostitution is one thing, but OnlyFans is a whole lot of self-disrespect. No, I completely agree with that bit, but I don't know, whatever, consenting adults, simps, and people who want money from simps, it's one thing. Me personally, the only reason I don't get into that kind of thing is, one, I don't have to, and two, it's the disrespect. Like, you see people like some of these people that will pop up on some of the next videos, or back when I was doing the Hassan Piker streams, he hangs out with a lot of OF people, and that's fine to have that kind of career, whatever. It's the career path that you chose. You're an adult. But at the same time, they shit on their own fan base so much. Why would you expose your own nudes on the internet? People don't think about long term. People, I don't know. I mean, just think about stuff that you may or may not have done when you were a kid. You weren't really thinking about how that would reflect on you when you turned 40, and especially people from my generation, when the internet was really just kind of picking up. It's not something a lot of people really thought about. I mean, back in the day, if you made a porno, you would just drop it off at the local whatever, the video store or whatever, that had, that notorious red or black curtain in the back. And you could always, do your best to make sure it was gone, destroy the tape, scrub it, whatever. I don't know. But these days, the internet's forever. Especially if you're famous or have anybody with any kind of following. If you post something, there's a strong chance that somebody saved it, especially if you're not liked by anybody. But anyway, we'll continue.
Of our people, we would love for you to do the same thing, and then we can be brothers and sisters, but brothers mainly, in arms. Good. That's setting the table.
What the heck is that?
These are scripts I wrote today for you to approve.
Those are all scripts?
Yeah.
Better at making the distinguishment between ultra-nationalism and nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've made it a less dirty word over time. What the left always did was conflated the two. They said ultra-nationalism means nationalism because they equivocate on everything because they're scumbags.
Right.
And that's what the whole point is. Rubio's saying, look, the United States is going to put its interests first.
Right.
And that's what nationalism is.
Yep.
And nationalists look at other nations and assume you're going to put the interest of your people first. They assume that. So there's nothing there which prevents cooperation, prevents anything like this. It's not an isolationist policy to be a nationalist.
Right.
That's always been insane.
Yeah.
I would say it promotes cooperation because if you go into a negotiation,
Who looks like Matthew
the other
Lillard?
party is thinking of their nation and at the utmost importance, then you know where you could start a negotiation.
Well,
Correct. You have a presupposition between the two. The second you enter into the negotiation table, you're like, these people are trying to do what's best for their people. We're trying to do what's best for ours. They're assuming that back.
Well, it's just like think of like a neighborhood watch. Who do you think is going to be more
I
effective?
mean, maybe in the eyes.
Your neighbors who are very family focused, where they have a central family unit. Their priority is going to be their family goal. My priority is my family. Can we work together to make sure all of our families are safer, since that's what matters to us? You have a central set of values that are shared, and you can actually be allies. You can't do this if you don't know where people line up. For more see Canada, they just used to say, well, we're the greatest friend the United States has ever had. Well, why? Why? What values does Canada share, Alberta notwithstanding? The truth is, right now, none whatsoever. Euthanasia. I mean, you look at where they are in social issues, the silencing of the press, the silencing of political opposition, allying themselves with China. Yeah. What values do we share with Canada? Well, we don't really know what their values are because it's all determined by a poll in a parliamentary system and scheming. So that's why this is so important for people to understand. And what's funny is the left will conflate nationalism with white or ultra-white nationalism. They'll conflate the two, act as though they are the same, but then somehow try and...
Well, and then they'll play some word games. And I've seen this happen in real time. People will say that because you like nationalism or you consider yourself a nationalist and you're white, it means you're automatically a white nationalist, which is technically true because you are white and a nationalist, but you're not a white nationalist. It's the same stupid fucking argument as having female friends as a dude. Well, she's a girl and she's a friend, but she's not a girlfriend. It's the same fucking thing, okay? And by saying that, I mean, for a lot of people, you're kind of towing the line because you want to take that next step. But for the most of us, it's just, you're a mature adult who can separate two things. You can be friendly with people without wanting to make sweet things.
And sell you that socialism and communism aren't the same.
But that's basically the same thing. And this is from people who will get real defensive and dodgy when it comes to asking questions about their side of things. But when you bring up things like nationalism, especially white people who are nationalists, you can be white, you can be nationalist, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a white nationalist.
If you ask them to explain the
now, if you're Nick Fuentes or a big fan of his,
But they expect
he's pretty much a white nationalist.
Always.
Oh, no. We're socialists, not communists.
Right.
No, we're light socialists, not heavy socialists.
Right.
No. We're leftists. We're progressives. They want nuance with every one of their positions, but grant you zero nuance for any of yours. You're like, wait a second. We're not talking about ultranationalism, which is putting and elevating the state above all other things. We have a tier for nationalism. It's God, family, nation. That's the tier.
Yeah.
Ultranationalism is nation, then everything else.
Yeah.
The United States has never been an ultranationalist nation.
No.
Ever. It's never been.
No.
And the conservatives are not promoting that it needs to be. But there's no nuance allowed
Some
on the left
are.
side, only on the left side.
No, that's absolutely right. And then there's no nuance allowed when they're like, oh, yeah, socialism has worked. You go, name me. They're like, oh, Venezuela, we can't use that anymore. Bernie Sanders he actually used the USSR honeymoon there, can't use that anymore. Cuba, can't use that anymore. Then they go to entirely white Nordic nations with the population of New Hampshire. It's like, well, we could make socialism work like in Martha's Vineyard. Is that what you mean? You saw how they freaked out the second 2 brown people showed up.
And that was pretty funny. I will admit I don't like Greg Abbott at all. But when he sent a bus of illegal migrants to the place where people who are promoting having them in the country in the first place and making sure that, sanctuary cities and stuff, when it came to that, they freaked out. They're like, oh, no, walls. Or this recent Billie Eilish situation where she said no one is illegal on stolen land, and then some dude from Australia came and posted up on her property, and she has the dude deported. You can't make this shit up. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they're the happiest nations in the world with the highest suicide rates.
Yeah, exactly.
This is you see this.
None of these people stand for anything.
But it depends on the metrics, and then you ask them to define the metrics, and you realize it's all bullshit anyway.
Yeah, no, of course it is. That's why they have to just go to a new. And not to mention, the Danish prime minister said, "Bernie, stop saying social. We're not socialist, okay? We're stop with that. We were built on free market economies." By the way, let's check in on the odds. This guy's running in 2028. Kalshi actually has.
He's got it.
Wow.
Okay, I don't care about it.
Island, that's flawed.
I got to see this. Andrew's shaking his head.
What?
Uh-oh.
He's a terrible debater.
Rubio, that is true.
And he has a terrible stage presence for debates.
It's getting better, though.
He's not getting that much better. I don't think he is.
About?
I think
I don't agree with. I'm not a big fan of Andrew.
Debates. I think that he would. And I think that
this guy.
Newsom would have
Not
a
a
better
huge fan.
presence than Rubio on a debate stage for the middle of the road people. So I'm not.
He's like any of your what's it? Red pill, manosphere bullshit. A broken clock is correct twice a day, just like a woman. She allows it, and then. I mean, I don't. As an Aussie, I'm proud of the Aussie man. Yeah. I mean, he could be an Aussie Mandius. Anyway, continuing on after that bad pun I made.
So convinced that Rubio.
But no, this guy, he's like any other red pillar. I'd put him maybe above Fresh and Fit, definitely above Pearl, just Pearly things. She's the fucking worst. Well, because she's a woman who's voting against women voting. It's an inherent contradiction. It's painful.
End up being your guy. I think that out of the viable candidates, it's way early.
Yes,
it's way early, but. Rubio's never been able to strike himself out as a standout star. Anytime he's faced with the opposition, when the opposition can face him, he starts to crack.
He's been pretty good at the hearings, though. That's the thing. Now that he's been sitting there at the hearings, he answered those more effectively than, honestly, anyone in recent memory. Maybe RFK Jr., but that's just because he was so exhausted.
I think something happened
Yeah.
in a couple years where he's like, his give a shit is kind of gone.
Yes. He was on the show, and I could tell. He was like, I don't know what you want me to say about these people. You could just see he's mentally checked out of trying to find.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. It's awful what he does. It says
with his own party.
Okay,
he doesn't get kowtowed out. He doesn't get kind of. Because before they were just kind of he kind of shrink back a little bit.
Yeah,
it's
he
like,
would.
If we can get this lips in his shoes.
Yeah, Rubio's speech and appeal to Western culture, something. Instead, we need an international class.
Okay, so we're gonna get here to AOC's speech. Let's get into it here.
I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq.
Oh wait, sorry, that's not AOC. That's some other dumbass answering questions that they don't know the answer to, even though they probably should, considering what they're doing. Let's continue.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture.
Cool.
My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain
They did.
Yeah, they did.
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word.
Okay.
They want to take this moment.
First of all, there were no horses in Africa. I don't know if that's true. Hold on, let's Google that. Did cowboys come from Africa?
Yes, while the cowboy
Oh, really?
comes from Spanish, Mexican, and Native American traditions, many early cowboys in the Americas were enslaved people of African descent. Some came from West Africa and brought cattle handling skills, with black cowboys making up to 25% of the workforce in the 19th century American West.
I actually didn't know that. I learned something in real time. Yay! But as far as Mexicans go, it came from both the indigenous tribes and the conquistadors that came here and basically took over everything in South America and all the way up to Mexico.
Of culture, at the end of the day, though, is, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest.
So we will be able to build up our future.
What we talk about when we talk about
over here
a class-based
should help the U.S.
internationalist perspective also means ending the hypocrisy towards the global South.
I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability.
What?
And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations.
What?
To act out these paradoxes.
Okay, so everything that she just said was nonsense. I don't even know the rest of the last part. But she said cowboys. I think Mexican might want a word. Cowboys did originate from Spain. So vaca is Spanish for cow. Spanish is from Spain. And the Spaniards brought Spanish to Mexico in 1519, along with, by the way, cows and horses. So I don't know if she understood. They hadn't domesticated these animals. There were no cowboys. They were kicking people's heads around as soccer balls in Mexico. So she's like, I think Mexico would like a word. Do you mean a word in the language of their conquerors? Does someone want to tell AOC where Mexico gets their Mex from?
Still made in New York City? New York City? Get a rope.
Well, seems a little
The
harsh.
whole thing is that it's not cowboys, it's a vaquero.
Right.
And that comes from vaca. It's a Spanish word. The whole thing, cowboy, comes from Spanish. Yeah.
It's one of the most popular cowboy action pistols, right? The Ruger Vaquero.
But we got to work on your Marxist decoder ring. So what she said is coherent from a Marxist lens.
All right.
So
good Lord.
but
All right, hit us.
she's looking at everything from a strictly class and materialistic base. And she's claiming that the people who are not looking at everything from a materialist base but are still living as though they do are hypocrites.
Yeah.
That's what the lens is showing.
Sure.
But you have to look at it through a purely materialistic lens, which is how all Marxist philosophy works.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, but I still don't get it.
Well, you're not. It is, to be completely fair, objectively fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's nonsensical.
It's just that the point is like from that worldview, the strictly materialist worldview, everything's reduced to class.
Right.
It can't be reduced any other way.
Well, and to the global South. So apparently we're.
Well, that's good because she's an expert in the global South. Because she's got a little bit of Hispanic
South
in her
in her?
somewhere. Well, not really, but kind of. I mean, I don't know where you count necessarily Puerto Ricans, but she whined about the U.S. taking out Maduro and also messed up some geography.
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example.
Venezuela.
It is not a. It is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just
can. The
because
whole world puts a
the
bounty on
nation's
him.
below the
Yeah, they put a
equator.
bounty on him because
And
he stole an election, literally.
So even though everything else was really stupid, fact, but you may agree with her opinion, Venezuela is indeed not below the equator.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's literally all above.
Not even a part of it.
oh shoot!
I don't even like that last little part that juts south. Nope.
Thing is like, isn't she the hypocrite now? Because from her view, the materialist conditions we went in to change the materialist conditions of the classes inside of Venezuela.
Right.
So the whole point is that sort of intervention is Marxist intervention. Like, she doesn't even understand her own philosophy.
No, well, she doesn't understand. I mean, she doesn't understand how people are walking upright because that's difficult for her.
She's a bartender, doesn't even know where the bottom shelf is.
Well, she also doesn't fully understand the concept of Taiwan because here is her greatest answer of all.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
You know, I think that this is such a, you know, I think that this is a, this is a very long-standing policy of the United States.
She posted this?
What we are hoping for is that we want.
I mean, people are famous for posting their own L's.
To that point, and we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic.
See, and that's the thing. I do think there can be a female president to answer the question down there. There's one here in Africa. I just don't think these, like Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, or Kamala, however the fuck you pronounce her name, it's not racist if you don't know how to say it because everyone says it differently, including people on the left, including Joe Biden, especially Joe Biden. But this one, oh my God. Like, we'll be going from the person who is the most silver-tongued president probably of all time, or at least in a very long time, to up-a-dee-up-a-dee-up-a-dee-up-a-dee-it. But that's not to say that a female could not be president. I don't believe that it's not possible. It can be possible, but just not these examples per se.
Economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Yeah, and she went on to say, by the way, I'm not an expert. Oh, really?
Andrew, does that need decoding too? Because I just think she's a stupid person.
Well, hang on.
No, I won't. Hang on.
See, I told you. That one's just, This is the problem too with the left, right? We talk about nuance, but they'll go, "You're being reductive." That's right.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like this is the problem.
Anyway, moving on to something a little more lighthearted. We're gonna get into the critical drinker's take on modern Trek.
So, I think it's safe to say that Starfleet Academy hasn't exactly been the resounding success that Paramount were hoping.
And the fact that they thought, and this is the thing that kills me, they spend so much money on the visual aesthetic for what's basically a CW show with fantastic graphics. Why they thought this would ever be, a tomboy 100%. Why they thought this would ever be a good idea is beyond me. It's literally just a god-awful, and not even one of the good ones, one of the god-awful CW shows, but with modern-day blockbuster budgets. And that's what you get with a lot of things with high budgets. You get things that should be and could be successful with low budgets. But they're putting these shitty writers in massive franchises that require more nuanced takes on things.
What with it failing to chart on the Nielsen ratings at all, crashing out of Paramount's own top 10 within a few weeks of release, the abysmal audience scores on every major review site, and the first episode released free on YouTube gaining less views than an average video of mine. And when the worst happens and everyone's taking a massive steaming dump on the massive steaming dump that you've produced, there's only one sensible course of action. Cope. And by golly, did the cope come hard and fast with this one. No, you see, this series is actually good if you look at it from a certain point of view. This show wasn't made for stodgy old Trek fans like you. It was written for the next generation. People are just review bombing this show because it's diverse and progressive.
They always say that. Look, stop using these diverse people as human shields from all criticism. That's all you're doing. You don't care about any of this. You don't care about any of these people. The writers might, but the studio doesn't. And honestly, the writers probably don't either. They're just really shitty writers, and they've gotten ahead by one, nepotism, and two, being part of current thing.
Not because it's bad. Star Trek has always been diverse and progressive, so shut up and don't question how this contradicts the previous point. Just like what we tell you to like and be happy, god damn it. I've seen it all, man, or at least I thought I had, but this latest defense has got to be the saddest and most...
And in response, we like to say this.
Stop raping, sir.
That's my philosophy. That's my current philosophy on all of this.
Subspace chatter on Substack. Quote, it seems people, let's call them the usual suspects,
and it's as easy as saying,
stop raping, sir.
That's my policy.
These weren't thoughtful critiques. These were folks just reflectively and maliciously slapping the new series with a minimum 1-star rating on review aggregator sites like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes.
I love how they said I am
honestly,
BD.
I think giving it 1 star is being generous because that implies the presence of something.
And I love how we brought back this awful character from the last awful Star Trek series, STD, Star Trek Discovery.
While in the show, no matter how small or deeply buried, and well, that would be a lie. Is Starfleet Academy perfect? Nope. Is it too cheesy at times? Absolutely. But if we keep complaining and tank its rankings just because it's not how we think Star Trek should be, the only outcome is that it gets cancelled and we get nothing else. Whoa. Wait just a second there, Missy. You're suggesting that people should give this show a free pass because if they're too mean to it, it might kill off Star Trek altogether?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things
I've
ever heard.
You've already killed Star Trek.
You understand how insane that is, right? Just accept the absolute dog shit you've been served up on the slim chance that you might be given something slightly less shit at some indeterminate point in the future.
How about no?
Call me crazy, but I tend to take the opposite view on this kind of thing. If a company produces a product that basically everyone hates, it's important to let them know just how badly they've fucked up. Otherwise, they're going to keep doing it because you're giving them no incentive to change. Starfleet Academy, just like Section 31 and Discovery before it, is exactly the kind of show that Alex Kurtzman and his gang of hapless retards at Secret Hideout want to make. This is their vision of what Star Trek should be, and if you let them...
Kurtzman has destroyed Trek. It has been massively unpopular. The fact that Star Trek Discovery got 5 seasons, despite tanking ratings and horrible reviews, just kind of shows where everyone's at. And it's literally the reason why a lot of these places are... Look, if it wasn't for... whatever the dude's name who wrote things like Landman and Yellowstone and all that guy, all of those shows are made by the same person. If not for this person who, by the way, Paramount recently lost the contract with. He did not renew. And you will see Paramount have to sell within 5 years. I guarantee it. Unless they find another cash cow like him.
Get away with it through some kind of benign indifference in the hopes they'll get better by themselves, then of course they'll keep making more of it because it's exactly what they want to do. They have to be corrected, sir. Fans would be better served finding things in the shows they do like and providing constructive feedback on what they'd like to see more of. Well, therein lies your problem, because I'll be honest here, I can't find anything in this show that I like. The characters, the writing, the set design, the performances, the emotional tone, the themes and ideas, they all have about as much in common with actual Star Trek as I do with Rachel Zegler.
It's Hollywood, baby.
There are literally no redeeming qualities about this show. Every episode is nothing but 60 minutes of soul-sucking, brain-destroying, morale-sapping misery. It's an absolute insult to the Star Trek legacy, an insult to the craft of filmmaking, and an insult to basic human intelligence. And to pretend otherwise is just flat-out lying to yourself. And well, why the fuck should you? The constant drumbeat of "it all sucks" and "everyone needs to be fired" isn't going to result in anything constructive. Instead, it's likely to result in Paramount shelving Trek for another 15 years.
Oh no!
Oh dear, you're threatening me with a good time now,
Yeah,
aren't you?
I would...
But joking aside here...
Look, and most fans of these series who are being... They're taking... And this is nothing different than the constant shitty sequels and constant revamping and restarting of movie series and TV series, it has nothing to do with them wanting to do something special with these franchises. It has everything to do with recognizable franchise, instant-based, installed audience. But when you take those things and you do nothing but shit on the audience and shit on the fans and shit on any criticism, calling it all racist, sexist, bigot, homophobic, transphobic, whatever, then you're completely destroying your audience. And all you have left are these not even infinite, these losers who do not care about the franchise in the first fucking place. I mean, look at the WNBA. You see so many people trying to get them to get paid the same as the actual NBA, but the WNBA doesn't make any money. So paying them the same as NBA players when they are literally subsidized by the NBA because they do not make a profit, with the exception of maybe Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese every now and then when she does something horribly embarrassing, like getting owned by Caitlin Clark. And again, it's not racist to think that Caitlin Clark is better than all the women that aren't her in the NBA. Why? Because it's usually done by NBA fans, and everyone knows in the NBA, like 95% of all the best players are not white. So shut the fuck up.
I think we've come down to it at last. The crux of the matter. The inescapable truth around which this entire show folds like
an origami chicken.
Fuck me, I can't believe a functional human being wrote that line. Either way though, the result is the same. It's time to let Star Trek die. And believe me, I take no pleasure in saying that, but there it is. This franchise is fucking cooked, man. It's like a blind old incontinent dog that can't walk anymore. As much as you loved it and treasure the good times you had together, keeping it alive in this condition isn't helping anyone. It's just prolonging the inevitable. The truth is that for all intents and purposes, Star Trek died 20 years ago with the cancellation of Enterprise. And fuck me, as stale and mediocre as that show was at the time, it's a goddamn masterpiece compared to anything we've had since. Yeah, we've been treated to some big, flashy space action movies with the Star Trek name plastered over them, and we got a little nostalgic glimmer of past glory with that final season of Picard, but for all intents and purposes, the spirit of Star Trek died a long time ago.
And Picard Season 3 was a fluke. It was made pretty much at the same time as the shitty Picard Season 2 by a completely separate team. And it was kind of a throwaway because they were done telling the really shitty, awful story that they wanted to tell, which was not a Star Trek story.
All that's left now is a shambling zombie franchise kept going with increasingly desperate TV shows that nobody asked for and even fewer people enjoy. The idea of shelving this franchise and just letting it rest for 10 or 15 years sounds like exactly what it needs. It needs a fucking break. It needs time for the wounds of Kurtzman Trek to heal. It needs time for the fandom to feel nostalgia for what once was, and anticipation for something new. And more importantly, it needs time for a new generation of writers and creatives to take the helm, because nothing in Star Trek is going to change unless you do something about the people making it. No matter how you try to spin it, the fact is that nothing good is being accomplished by Kurtzman and his team anymore. After almost a decade in control of this franchise, they haven't grown the fandom, they haven't elevated the Star Trek brand to greater cultural awareness, and from a purely business point of view, they haven't made a single fucking penny for Paramount. Nobody's buying Star Trek merch or box sets or taking out Paramount Plus subscriptions to watch Star Trek Discovery. It would be quicker to dump $100 million into a pile and just light the fucking thing on fire. At least that would look cool. Normally I take no pleasure in the idea of people losing their jobs, but in this case, I don't see any other solution here. The Secret Hideout guys have 100% brought this on themselves.
Yeah, they really have.
Forced them to make shitty Star Trek shows filled with lore-breaking characters and storylines. Nobody forced them to prioritize the message over good storytelling, and nobody forced them to lash out and criticize the very fans they needed to win over. They are entering into the finding out stage of the fuck around process, and they've got no one to blame but...
And people are saying things like, Star Trek was always woke. That's kind of true. Star Trek always had a message. There was usually a message, usually a show message, by each episode, an episodic message, or an overarching show message. However, a lot of the time, it was well written. That's the biggest thing. the greatest thing that I miss so much about 90s shows, there were the sitcoms that kind of beat you over the head a little bit with certain things, and then there were other shows and the damn, just a lot of stuff in the 90s that you'd learn things without knowing that you were learning them. You were learning values without them making such a big deal out of it. I don't know if it's because, let's face it, it's just lack of talent. A lot of this is pure lack of talent. Back in the day, there was subtext and nuance and all of this. These days, with things like Mikey Spock here, you just lose it all. It's all gone. There's nothing you can do to convince me that this is good writing. Any of it. None of it. You can put, and I like Holly Hunter, and I like, the guy who plays the villain in Starfleet Academy. I can't think of Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti. I love him. He's great. I even like his small bit roles. Like, he's one of those that has always stood out in movies like Private Parts, The Negotiator, and all of those things until he was picked up to be the great actor that we all know him as today. And even with his expertise, or someone as just plain likable as Elastigirl from The Incredibles, Holly Hunter, she was in things like Raising Arizona and all this. These are good actors, or great actors even. They cannot save the dreck of Trek. I'm sorry.
But themselves, Star Trek in its current form needs to die.
And Captain Janeway was amazing.
Tarnishing its own legacy by continuing to exist. Maybe someday it can come back stronger and better than before, but let's be honest, that time is a long way off. For now, I'd settle for it being left to rest in peace. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now. So, I think it's safe to...
Whoops. Alright. But that's all we're going to get into today. I got to go be on time for work and all. But it's look, I appreciate the engagement, but no, I'm pretty sure that's just an offer for bots. Every time I'm on here, someone's offering me to sign up for Nesna.com. I'm cool, man. I appreciate the engagement. By all means, keep asking me. I appreciate it. Whatever pushes the conversation forward, or just engages at all. But nah, I'm cool, dude. But no, that's all we're gonna get into today. Look, whether it turns out to be culturally or whether it's the actual physical engagement, there's one thing that you need to know that you need to stop doing to all these franchises, and just a good mantra for your entire life altogether, and that is...
Stop raping, sir!
That is the way of life. You have to maintain... I'm sorry, I love this show. Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's a breath of fresh air. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to watch it with someone special in my life. And but yeah, it's fantastic. It's great, especially considering the disappointment that season 2 of House of the Dragon turned out to be, and pretty much every other pop culture thing that has happened in the last 5 or so years. It's a relief, especially seeing what's happened to Star Trek and Star Wars and all the other things, the MCU, all the things that you love, have just become god-awful. But I'm going to leave it there. Guys, thank you so much. We're back. We're going to start having the show 5 mornings a week during the weekday, and then maybe throw you a bone on the Saturday or Sunday. I'm also going to get back into streaming video games at least once a week, maybe twice if there's something out that I really enjoy, or me and the boys just happen to hop on and you hear our witty banter. But y'all have a fantastic day. I've been Alfie Animus. This has been the associated guest here on the Baron